Person with a Samsung phone, please turn off your video until your case is called, and please update your name on your phone so we know who you are in court. I'll make the announcement again to all victims and witnesses. Please have your camera turned off until the judge address your case. And keep your sound on mute. And please make sure you update your name on your Zoom call, on your Zoom, like your phone. If you're not able to update it, just chat me directly and I'll update it for you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to begin. Morning, Ms. Lewis. Good afternoon, Ms.
Good afternoon, Judge. It's me today, all by myself.
Oh,
So be patient with me if I ask questions twice. I don't think the jail's on yet.
okay. What's our reset date for this calendar?
It's going to be the 27th of March.
Okay. And do we have any resets or any waivers today?
I'm not aware of yet.
Okay. Ms.
Yeah,
Brown?
yes, Your Honor, there are, I sent them to Michael Jordan. I will forward them to Ms. Lewis.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm operating today, so all paperwork comes to me today if you have any announcements.
Ms. Bronson, which cases are going to be waivers or resets that you know of?
The waivers are Jonathan Banks.
Okay, this position 1.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I don't have the positions in front of me. Oscar Floyd.
Floyd.
Actually, it's both Floyds. It's Oscar and D'Angelo Floyd.
Okay, are they the same person or?
No, they
Oh.
just both wanted to waive.
Oh,
And then Renee Flores, I just found out that he needed a Spanish interpreter. I realize it's far too late to ask the court for that. So I would ask that he be placed on Monday's calendar. There is a hold anyway, so this is not the only thing holding him in custody.
And Your Honor, as it relates to Jonathan Banks, we just received word within the last 20 minutes that the district attorney's office is going to accept that case. So we will be transferring that case to the district attorney's office, as well as Quentin Thomas.
Thomas. Okay, this will be a transfer to DA's office. All right.
Do y'all have those orders yet?
I do. I can forward it to you.
I appreciate that. The judge will have to sign off on them.
Okay, and Ms. Pinto, did you have any announcements before I begin?
Morning, Judge. I do have one waiver of appearance, Mr. Murphy, position 18.
Okay.
And I didn't know there was something I was supposed to send in. Is there a form or something that's
I
involved?
just added you on the email that I sent to Ms. Lewis.
Okay, I'll send mine in then.
Okay. All right.
And I'm sorry, Judge. I do have 4 people that I haven't been able to interview yet, so I was going to see if the jail could put me on with them while. It's Mr. Phillips, El Gendy, Narain, and Wilson. Wilson's at Union City.
Phillips is he's gonna be a reset. The other 2, you didn't speak to them at Alpharetta?
I called Alpharetta, and Alpharetta told me they'd been sent to Rice Street.
Okay, so we'll get them in. When they get over here, we'll go ahead and put you on the phone.
Okay, thank you.
All right. let's begin. Going to be addressing the folks who are in courtroom 2. I don't see AC/DC or Union City or Alpharetta chiming in at the present time. Good afternoon. My name is Judge Lal, and we are going to begin with our first appearance calendar for misdemeanor cases. This is called the Expedited Accusation cases. These are cases involving individuals who were recently arrested and charged with misdemeanor offenses. Soon after being booked into the Fulton County Jail, your case was formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. This would be your first appearance before a judicial officer, where I will let you know what is your new case number, what are the charges brought against you, to appoint counsel when necessary, and to also set a bond. For some of you, your next court date will be March 27th, 2025 at 9 a.m. That will also be a virtual proceeding. So if you need a Zoom link, you would need to contact the clerk's office. With regards to bond, some of you may possibly qualify for what we call a signature or release bond, in which case you would not have to pay for the bond today, but you would have to comply with the conditions of your bond. Otherwise, those who receive a surety bond or a cash bond, you would have to pay for your bond either through a bonding company or out of your own pocket. In either event, conditions may attach, which will require you to comply. Let's begin with courtroom. If you are charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember the following rights. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of your case during this virtual proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. All right, courtroom 2, whom should we begin with?
Position number 30, Ms. Woods.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. All right, this is Mr. Sean Woods. Her case number is 25 CR 13778. Ms. Woods has been accused of theft by taking from October 8th, 2024. Ms. Woods, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Pinton.
25 total. Got open battery in state court. 2023 and 2024 probation. Only theft related is a 2010 forgery in the first degree conviction.
okay.
2010 theft conviction out of Ohio.
Do you?
Hmm?
Okay, that's fine. I was just wondering whether you have a case number for. Is that in state court? The open case?
Yeah. 23 CR 007 632A. It's battery DV and cruelty in the third.
All right, thank you. Ms. Tucker, good afternoon. And what's your recommendation for Ms. Woods?
Yes, Judge. The state is recommending a $2,000 signature bond in this case with conditions no further contact and to stay away. That would be a signature bond through pretrial, whichever level you feel fit, considering she does have that open case. But there weren't many thefts in the history. The facts allege that a Georgia Tech student reported he parked his bike outside the Kappa Sigma house for less than an hour, but when he returned for it, it was gone. This defendant was captured on security camera taking the bike.
Huh?
We did try to attempt him. The number wasn't good, but if we could sound for him just in case he's on, it's going to be Braden Florney.
Braden Florney, if you're on Zoom, this will be the time to unmute.
So the no further contact will be with Braden Florney, and the stay away will be from 182 6th Street in Atlanta.
All right, Ms. Pinto, my concern is that she received a signature bond through the jail and now she's back in jail.
I understand, Judge. I think if there's pretrial supervision, that could help the situation. She is a stay-at-home mother to 4 children. The only person working in their house right now is her husband. So she wouldn't be able to post any kind of monetary bond. And she does have children all under the age of 10 that she needs to return to. I see that pretrial also recommended a signature bond at level 3. we would ask the court to impose a signature bond, and, you know, whatever other conditions the court finds appropriate.
$2,000 signature bond through pretrial services per judge. Level 2, she'll report to pretrial twice a month. No further contact with Braden Throney, and to stay away from 182 6th Street in Atlanta, Georgia. Miss Woods, the last bond you obtained was a signature bond through the jail.
Yes, ma'am.
Prosecutor is recommending a signature bond today. If you get arrested again for anything else from now on, this $2,000 signature bond I've given you today will convert to a cash bond. So the next time you're in jail, please remember to bring $2,000 with you. Thank you. And make sure you stay away from the location and the victim. Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, is position number 2, Miss Bussey.
This is Tessra Bussey, case 25 CR 1351J, accused of driving while license suspended or revoked, giving false information to an officer, and expired tag. Ms. Bussey has got 19 cycles with a open felony case in Muscogee County. Ms. Tucker, any recommendations?
Yes, Judge. On the driving on suspended license, it's a $1,000 good bond. On the giving false info and expired tags, 500 good on each for a total of 2,000. The facts allege that while the officer was patrolling, he ran her tag. It came back expired. Excuse my dog. So she gave the name and date of birth of Jateria Bussey. I assume that may be her sister. Date of birth 6/24/94. The officer realized the picture was not her. So the return also gave her info, and it turns out she had an active warrant out for her and a suspended license for FTA. So between that, as well as I have one FTA as recent as 2018, I do not believe she would be a good candidate for a signature bond. We're asking for that $2,000 total bond.
Ms. Bronstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bussey is 47 years old. She is from Atlanta and has lived here her entire life. Her mother and daughter are here. Her daughter is grown and she is actually raising her granddaughter. She has physical and legal custody of her 5-year-old granddaughter. She did graduate from high school. She works at Five Guys. I would like to point out that when I looked at Odyssey this morning, I saw under driving while license suspended what looked like a UJR preset and a $1,000 good bond on the false info. So I would ask for a UJR to the hold. There is also a hold for East Point showing in Odyssey. If the court is not inclined to do that, I would ask for no more than the $1,000 good bond that was preset earlier this morning.
All right. Ms. Bussey has also got a 2015 driving without a valid license conviction, a 2011 driving without valid license conviction, and now she's here with a new one. On the driving while license suspended or revoked is $1,000 surety. Giving false information to an officer is $500, and the expired tag is $250. The total bond is going to be $1,750. It's a surety bond. No driving unless you have a valid driver's license that's been reinstated or is otherwise valid, proper registration, and adequate insurance for the vehicle that you operate. Your next court date will be March 27th.
Next, we can go to position number 23, Mr. Reed.
This is DeAnthony Reeves, accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property, 2 counts from January 17th, 2024. Mr. Reeves has 47 arrest cycles with an open case in state court, 23 CR 5291C, as well as 23 CR 003341C, multiple FTAs. Ms. Tucker, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Judge, I'd be recommending $1,000 good bond on each charge for a total of 2,000, as well as no further contact with Irika Gardner. And
No,
stay away from this location at
Just one second.
8954.
Just one second, Ms. Tucker. If anybody wants to interrupt the prosecutor or the judge or anyone who's speaking, we're going to remove you from Zoom. So, Ms. Gardner, one more interruption and you won't have to say anything else, okay? Thank you.
yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry, Ms. Tucker, go ahead.
Yes, Judge. So no further contact with Irika Gardner and to stay away from 8954 Lake Court in Union City. The facts allege that this defendant damaged the blinds and bedroom door in the home where he lives with his girlfriend. He also damaged the television. Based on the open cases as well as quite a few FTAs, I have at least 4 in the last 10 years. We're asking for that $1,000 good bond on each for a total of 2,000. I believe Miss Gardner is on the line. We were not able to speak with her ahead of time, but if you would sound for her now.
Sure. Ms. Gardner, if you'd like to contribute to the proceeding, you'll need to be placed under oath. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly
Yes,
swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
yes, it is.
Okay, do you and Mr. Reeves live together at this apartment?
Yes, we do.
All right, and who's the landlord or the owner?
It's through Mechanicsville Apartments. We've
Oh,
moved from that arrest place that where we used to live at, and we since then have been going through counseling. We've been through counseling with our
no, I'm not
pastors.
interested. I'm not interested in that part. I'm more interested in who owns the property where the blinds and the door were damaged.
Oh, that was First King's Homes.
Oh, First Key Homes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You
We
still
no longer live there. No, ma'am.
have you all been evicted or do you all leave voluntarily?
We left voluntarily.
Okay. And have you all paid for the damage to the door and the blinds?
Yes, ma'am.
How was it paid?
I paid it.
Okay. All right. On the criminal trespass and damage to property is Miss Pinto. Did you have anything? I was going to go with 500 on each count. He doesn't qualify for a signature bond because of these 2 open cases and the multiple FTAs.
Yes, Judge, if I could just give a little bit of information about Mr. Reeves. He's 44 years old. He's resided in the Atlanta area his entire life. Most of his family are here in Georgia. He did graduate high school and has been working as a music engineer for the past 10 years. We would ask that he be allowed to have contact with Miss Gardner. She expressed to me that they do want to have contact. And I would like to note that this incident is from January of 2024. So this is over a year ago that these allegations are alleged to have happened.
2 dates over here.
I'm sorry?
Ms. Tucker, can you clarify that? I have a January 17th and then a January 16, 2025.
Yes, so they damaged the blinds and bedroom on the 17th, and they damaged the television on the 16th.
Of this year.
I had it as this year.
Oh, maybe I might have misread, Judge. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to be sure whether I
The
was
warrant says January 17th, 2024.
okay. That's fine, but either effect, like I said, the state's asking for a $2,000 bond. I'm willing to half it to 500 on each count. He just doesn't qualify for a signature bond. 47 arrest cycles, multiple FTAs, and 2 open cases in Fulton County. He's not a good candidate for a release bond.
I understand, Judge. Yes, I don't think he has much money, but as low as the court could do, 500 each charge, I think would be okay.
It's a $1,000 surety bond. Next court date is going to be March 27th. And if Mr. Reeves does post bond, he will need to come back to court and update us with his new mailing address if it's not the location at Lake Court in Union City. But otherwise, he's to stay away from that location, 8954 Unions in Lake Court in Union City, the entire apartment complex, and we'll see him in court. Oh, and Ms. Lewis, can we also go ahead and try and schedule 23 CR 005291C and 23 CR 003341C.
Yes, we
Thank-
put them on the calendar.
Okay.
Was there any other conditions with that, Judge? It's just to update his
Just
mailing address and stay
no-
away?
Yeah, no firearms, no weapons, and no illegal drugs.
Okay, so he could have contact with Ms. Gardner?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Thank you.
Hey, Judge Law, this is the victim witness advocate, Ms. Clemens. I put in the chat if Ms. Gardner could put her telephone number in the chat for me so I can update it in the system.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
And that's 500 on each charge, correct?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay. Next we can go to position number 5, Mr. Dwight.
All right, Ms. Gardner, if you could mute,
I'm trying to figure out how to work this. Hold on.
the host could mute and, yeah, thank you. Okay. Number 5, Kenneth Dwight is accused of simple battery family violence from November 30th, 24, under case 25 CR 1376H. And Mr. Howard, I see 4 arrest cycles. Anything else?
2015 weapons charge.
Ms. Jasmine, Elgin.
That's all.
Okay. Ms. Tucker? Oh,
Yes, Judge. The recommendation is a $2,000 good bond with conditions no further contact with Ebony Powers and to stay away from 3012 Tylerton Court in Atlanta. The facts allege that this defendant and victim are dating and they have been living together for 5 years. When they arrived, she told the officers that the defendant hit her again, her words. And this time he kicked her twice in the stomach wearing Timberland boots, which are like heavy hiking boots. Based on his history, he's got 1 out of North Carolina, 1 out of Tennessee, 1 out of Mississippi, then this 1 out of Georgia. I don't think he has strong roots to Georgia. Between that and the violence alleged in the facts, her telling the officers he was hitting her again, we're asking for that $2,000 good bond with conditions no further contact and to stay away. We did try to attempt her. There was no answer. I don't believe she'll be on the Zoom, but we could sound for Ebony Powers.
Ms. Powers? Okay, Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor, I would be asking for a signature bond for my client. He has no history of violence at all. These allegations, I believe, were from 2022, if I heard correctly.
November 30th, 2024.
My client tells me that he has not been in a relationship with the alleged victim for some time. He said that when he told her some time ago that he wanted to break up with her, she was upset and that she called and made these allegations against him. She has since called and told him that essentially she fabricated the story. There's nothing in there that suggests that she had any signs of injury or anything like that. He tells me that they do not live together. They have not been in a relationship. And he totally denies that any of this took place. Given the fact that he's 36 years old, has no history of violence, Your Honor, and the alleged victim is not on here to even be asked about any of these allegations, I would ask the court for a signature bond for my client.
Yeah.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Looks like the officers were dispatched to the location on November 30th, 2024 at about 11:32 in the morning. He wasn't at the scene. In a relationship for 5 years and currently live together. Well, that's just what the warrant says, so I'm not certain. All right. Bond is going to be set at $2,000. That's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. No further contact with Ebony Powers to stay away from 3012 Tylerton Court in Southwest Atlanta. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Next court date is going to be sent to his current address, I have a Riverdale address. Is that correct?
That's what I have as well, Your Honor.
Right. Mr. Dwight, if you change your address, make sure we're the first folks to find out before anyone else. Thank you.
No.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Next is position number 21, Mr. Patterson, Dwight, please. That's correct, yes. Upside down.
You said that was 21?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh,
This
Unique
is-
Patterson.
I have Unique Patterson. Would that be correct?
Yes.
All right. This is Mr. Unique Patterson, case number 25 CR 001378J. Mr. Patterson has been charged with interference with custody from March 14th, 2025. Mr. Patterson, you have been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. McLeod. I see that he's got 5 cycles. Anything to add?
Yes,
2022 cruelty in the second degree conviction. 2020 PR conviction. 2024 probation. He had a CWAC arrest. It was charges were dismissed.
Okay.
and Judge, I would request a breakout room for this case. The facts are very sensitive.
All right.
I believe you need to hear them to make a proper bond.
It would not be sufficient if I read the warrant.
Okay, it could be.
I'll go into a breakout. I'll go into.
Okay.
Yes, I would appreciate a breakout as well, Your Honor, because I have not seen the warrant yet. I've only been able to speak with my client.
All right. Okay. I think Miss Lewis is multitasking today. So,
That I am.
all right.
Okay, give me 1 second here.
Just take your 4th and 5th hand. And, okay. All right, Mr. Unique Patterson, based on the information that was shared between the attorneys, your attorney's argument, and based on your GCIC, as well as the allegations set forth in the warrant, your bond is presently set at a $5,000 cash bond only. No further contact with the individual with the initials SB, to stay away from the hotel motel incident location, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. And your next court date will be March 27. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, another thing, no contact with unrelated minors who are age 17 and under. Thank you. All right, next case.
Position number 12, Mr. Gilbert.
Ms. Lewis, can you switch off the video of this Zoom user? Is very distracting. We can bring her back on once she tells you who she is. Thank you. And again, could you repeat that name? Gilbert?
Yes, that's, yep.
Got it. Thank you. This is Elijah Gilbert Sr., accused of battery, family violence from November 30th, 2023. Mr. Gilbert, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Bronstein. And he is charged, as I said, with battery, family violence from 2023. He presently has open cases in East Point, Forsyth, Georgia, and Harris City, Texas. He's got 6 arrest cycles. Mr. Ham, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond on the battery family violence.
All right.
The
Any
facts of-
stay away or no contact?
Yes, Your Honor. No further contact with Tatiana Fernander, Fernander. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol.
Okay. Ms. Bronstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. We are asking for a signature bond in this case. As the court stated, it did occur November of 2023, about a year and a half ago. There's no indication that there have been any issues since. For some information about Mr. Gilbert, he is 25 years old, from Atlanta. Family here, father, grandmother, brothers, son. He does have a 1-year-old child with the complaining witness in this case. As for school, he did graduate high school and do some college, and he currently works as a chef in a restaurant in Atlanta. I do want to let the court know that they do not live together and they are not still together. However, they do co-parent, and the child is, according to Mr. Gilbert, he said the child is legitimized. He also said he wasn't avoiding the warrant or anything. He just honestly was not aware of it. If he had been made aware of it, he would have turned himself in and handled this case a year and a half ago.
All right. So there is a court order that sets forth a parenting plan. Is that what Mr. Gilbert's claiming? I don't know. That's what legitimation means.
He says that he legitimizes the father and that they co-parent even though they're not together. I did not ask for the specifics of any parenting plan.
Okay. On the battery, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services, and this is going to be a level 2 reporting. Within 30 days of reporting to being released, he will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. This is a series of 26 classes, and he must show his pretrial officer that he has enrolled in the program and that he's begun on those classes at his own expense. No further contact with Tatiana Fernandez. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. That's correct.
Fernandez. Okay, I've got Fernandez. To stay away from where she lives or where she works, at least stay 200 yards away from her. The only way he can see the child that he shares with Miss Fernandez is if he has a superior court order with an outlined parenting plan. That's what legitimation means. So if he did not, did you go to Superior Court and get a court order? Gilbert, did you go to Superior Court and get a court order declaring you as the father of the child and setting forth a parenting plan?
No, man, I signed his birth certificate at the hospital.
That is not legitimation. That is not legitimation under Georgia law. So technically speaking, even if your name is on the birth certificate, you have absolutely no rights to the child. You can see the child that you share with Ms. Fernanda if you file a legitimation action in the appropriate superior court and get a court order declaring you as the father, establishing an outline parenting plan. Understood?
Yes, ma'am. Can I say something?
If you want to,
No.
go ahead, Ms. Bronte.
I would advise you not say anything to the court. The judge has made her ruling. If at a later point you would like to seek to modify this or anything, please reapply with the public defender's office or get a private attorney and then they can handle that on your behalf.
I was just asking, was she in the Zoom call? She said she was gonna be in the Zoom call today.
Tatiana Fernanda, are you on Zoom? This will be the time to unmute and start your video.
I tried to reach out to her and was unable to.
Your Honor, we were able to speak with her, and she indicated she was undecided as to whether or not she was going to join Zoom, but we were able to speak to her prior to
All right.
this hearing.
Did she indicate whether she wanted contact with Mr. Gilbert?
She did not. She indicated that they co-parent, they're not together, and that he doesn't live in the state.
So he needs to, oh, I thought he did. I thought he was working here.
Yes, he works in Atlanta.
What's your address, Mr. Gilbert?
1630 Kenmore Street.
Repeat slowly.
1630 Kenmore Street. Atlanta,
1630 Kenmore Street?
yeah. Atlanta, Georgia. Sometimes I do work in Florida, in Jacksonville. So that's what
What's your zip code?
30311.
All right. Well, you'll have to report to pretrial services twice a month. So make sure your work schedule is organized around that. You'll also need to complete those domestic violence classes. And if you miss a meeting with pretrial, if you get arrested again, or if you don't show up to court when summoned, an arrest warrant will be issued for your arrest. All right, we will see you in court when we send you your next notice to your Kenmore Street location.
This per judge.
Yes.
Go ahead and send the third row.
Good afternoon, Judge Love. This is going to be position number 24, Ms. Richardson.
Okay.
And also, before we start on position number 24, I do have a quick announcement for Ms. Spalding, Victoria. She's not on the calendar. I want to know if she was NOD'd or dismissed.
She was NOD.
Okay, thank you.
This is position 24, State versus Marsha Richardson. Case number 25 CR 1368G. Ms. Richardson.
Judge, I would ask that we waive sounding on at least one of the charges.
I've got, maybe I'm reading it the wrong way. Let me see. I've got battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree. Do you have a third charge?
Yeah, well, that was the cruelty was the charge I was referring to.
I don't waive sounding on those charges. I just say cruelty in the third degree.
Understood.
Okay. As I was saying, Ms. Richardson's got these two misdemeanor charges against her from March 13th, 2025. Ms. Richardson, as well as any other defendant at ACDC. We're going to be addressing each of your cases. Please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Ms. Richardson appears to have
She got 6 total.
6 cycles. Okay. And does she have an open case?
Yeah, it's your bond.
Okay.
You see the bond order?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Alright.
Mr. Ham?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation on the battery charge is a $2,000 cash bond, and on the cruelty charge, it's a $1,000 surety bond to have no further contact with the Quentin Williams to stay away from 4851 Santana Way Southwest, to have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol, and also to submit to random screenings for alcohol. Mr. DeQuinton Williams is present online. Your Honor, the facts of this case is that police responded to that location. Police made contact with the victim in the case. He indicated that the mother of his child, which is the defendant, had been intoxicated and tried to leave with the child. He tried to prevent her from leaving with the child, and she bit him several times. Your Honor, the open case 24CR00517G is also a battery against this exact same victim, and she has a prior battery conviction out of 2019. So because of those circumstances, we're asking for a cash bond on the battery, cruelty $1,000 bond, and to have no further contact with DeQuinton Williams. And I believe Mr. Williams is present on the Zoom.
DeQuinton Williams, if you'd like to be heard, please unmute and start your video. All right, please raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's the child right now?
She's here.
All right, and she's not in the same room with you, is she?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
And what would you like to tell us?
So, I have no problem having contact with Ms. Richardson as we co-parent our 2-year-old daughter together. What I asked is that she be mandated or required to have some sort of alcohol treatment as some sort of requirement for her to be around. We do live together and co-parent our daughter together.
Do you know if Miss Richardson has completed her domestic violence classes?
I believe she did, from my understanding, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. And do you realize that she has a no violent contact bond order at the present time?
No, ma'am.
And do you realize she has also under an order that she's not allowed to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and have no firearms?
No, ma'am.
And are you aware that she was also required to undergo an alcohol and drug evaluation and submit herself to any treatment required?
I believe she has done that in the past. So I did know that part. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, and you all still continue to live together?
Well, yes, ma'am. For the sake of our 2-year-old daughter, so obviously, and Miss Richardson is now just starting. She didn't have a job for a while, so she's just not, got offered another job. So until she's able to get on her feet and get a place of her own, so we'd be able to obviously, take care of our daughter and put her in a position where we both can help her out.
Okay. So this new arrest, unfortunately, her $4,000 signature bond that she was granted just over a year ago, that's going to be surrendered. In other words, in order for her to be released, she needs to post $4,000 from that case. One of the conditions of getting a signature bond through pretrial is that you cannot be arrested again while the prior case is still open.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not educated on that.
That I'm just informing you now, so now you know. Okay. All right, Miss Pinto, we are still dealing with the current case.
Yes, Judge. Thank you. Miss Richardson is 39 years old. She's lived in the Atlanta area for 21 years. She does have one child who just turned 2. She is eager to return to that child because she is still nursing. She has a master's degree in theology. She has been out of work on maternity leave caring for the child, but she is supposed to start a new job next week as a project director at a real estate development company. Previously, she worked at Floor and Decor as a construction manager for 2 years. So she has very strong ties to the community. I understand the situation with the other bond judge, and if that's $4,000, that's already going to be a lot to pay. Pretrial did recommend a signature bond at level 3 in their report. I don't think that Miss Richardson's going to be able to pay much, especially with the $4,000 bond that's coming from the other case. So really all we can ask for is a signature bond on this case, or as low as possible, surety bond.
Okay. On the battery family violence, it's a $2,000 cash bond. On the cruelty in the third degree, that's going to be a $1,000 cash bond. That's a $3,000 cash bond, in addition to the $4,000 surety bond that's been surrendered. The allegations of the warrant are very, very troubling. Just based on the narrative of the victim to the police officer, allegedly Ms. Richardson has violated not only the original bond order, but apparently this is another altercation which involved intoxication and violence. So clearly, Ms. Richardson has some issues, and in order to bond out, she would need to make sure that she applies for that. And again, no alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons and no firearms, no contact. We are removing the no violent contact with Daquan Williams and amending that to no contact with Daquan Williams. And if Mr. Williams and Ms. Richardson want to continue with the parenting plan, they can do so, but only through a third party. Ms. Richardson will need to update the court with her new address within 30 days of being released, because she is not allowed to live with Daquan Williams. Next court date is May 27th.
Judge, Ms. Richardson expressed that she has nowhere else to go. I would just ask the court to reconsider the no contact, considering that Mr. Williams is willing to have contact and continue co-parenting.
Ms. Pinto, March 13th. The victim advised the officer that the mother of his child, Marsha Richardson, was intoxicated after being at a bar all day. Mr. Williams advised that Ms. Richardson attempted to leave the house with their child while being intoxicated. He took her car keys and refused to return them, for which then Ms. Richardson bit him on the forearm while attempting to get her keys from him. Mr. Williams advised that he and Ms. Richardson lived together and share a child. And Ms. Richardson advised that she was out earlier today drinking, advised that she then returned and attempted to leave the residence with her daughter. Not only is there violence involved, there's alleged consumption of alcohol in violation of the prior bond order and this one. I cannot grant her anything but a cash bond, because she has either some substance abuse issues or she just doesn't know how to comply with the bond order.
I understand,
Next court date is March 27th. That will be her current bond, and we will address both cases, this one and her prior one, which is Ms. Lewis, do you have the other case number?
Yes, Judge, I do have the other case number.
Okay, thank you. Francois, do we have another case, or I'm going on to courtroom 2?
No, that's it. The quick question, Judge Law. So she has a $3,000 cash bond, and then what about for the other charge?
The other one, the bond is $2,000 on battery family violence and $1,000 on the cruelty in the third degree. And then in the other case, the signature bond is surrendered and will be converted to a surety bond.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Next is position number 19, Ms. Narain.
This is Gabrielle Narain, accused of battery family violence from March 15th, 2025. Ms. Narain, this appears to be her second arrest. Case number is 25 CR 1373G. Ms. Narain, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Pinto. Ms. Tucker, any recommendations?
Yes, Judge, we'd be recommending a $2,000 signature bond due to her lack of history. However, with conditions to have no further contact with Marco Ortiz, to have a social worker visit, if possible, before she leaves the jail, and to have a mental health evaluation and any recommended treatment as conditions of her signature bond. The facts allege that this defendant came to the victim's house to pick her up, She didn't come down immediately, which caused an argument. She started hitting herself, kicking and breaking things inside the vehicle. The defendant tried to grab his stuff from her and get out of the car. Then she began hitting and scratching him, leaving 4 red marks on her forehead, her temple, her wrist, and her forearm. And they have been living together for a month. We attempted to contact Mr. Ortiz. We were unsuccessful. So I don't believe he will be here on the Zoom. But based on the facts, she was hitting herself, kicking and breaking. I'm fine with a signature bond as long as there's that condition to get the MHET or have a social worker visit.
Marco Ortiz, if you are on Zoom, this would be the time to unmute and start your video. All right, Ms. Pinto, any objection to the stay away, no contact?
No, we have no objection to a stay away, and no contact with the alleged victim. Ms. Noreen is happy to do that. Pretrial recommended a signature bond through the jail, and I do think that's appropriate. She's never had any failures to appear. She's never had any convictions. She's lived in Georgia her entire life. Her entire family is here. She did graduate high school and works as a professional dog trainer, which she's been doing for 8 years. So given her lack of history and strong ties to the community, I think the pretrial recommendation of signature bond through the jail is appropriate.
Does she live in Valdosta? That's the only current address I have.
That is the correct address, she said, yes.
So she's going to go back to Valdosta?
That's the address she gave me, Judge.
Ms. Noreen, is that your current mailing address? Is that where you live?
Yeah.
In Valdosta? With whom do you live?
My mother.
Sorry?
My mother,
What's your mother's name?
Sabrina Lorraine.
Repeat?
Sabrina Lorraine, my last name.
Okay. Valdosta is pretty far, but you'll be required to report to pretrial once a month. I'm going to allow for telephonic reporting. And then you will receive a summons to come back to Fulton County to be in court. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yeah.
And so the bond right now on the Battery family violence is going to be $2,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services level 1. You report to pretrial telephonically, but you'll still need to attend the orientation before you go back to Valdosta. No further contact with Marco Ortiz, and to stay away from the Webbridge Court Academy Street location. You're also not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not own or possess any firearms. Within 30 days of being released from Fulton County, you will enroll in an MH evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment that's required. So you will need to go to the appropriate healthcare provider or doctor and undergo an MH evaluation. And if the evaluator believes that treatment or counseling or medication is required, then you would need to submit to that. You're also to enroll in a domestic violence oh no, this is not a DB. Okay, well, why is it DB? Why is it DB, Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, let me pull up those notes. It says they were living together. They've been living together for a month.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just need you to do the MH evaluation treatment. And if you get arrested again for anything else, please remember that this $2,000 bond can be canceled and converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. And I'm not kidding. You just saw that happen. All right. Thank you. We'll see you in court. Make sure you check your mail for your next court date. Thank you.
Next is position number 6, Ms. Elgindy.
Your Honor, this person wasn't on the pull sheet.
Is Jasmine Elgendi? Yeah, she was. I even had her on the, this is the first arrest. Do you need to speak with her?
Yeah, she was at she was at the end. She was at a different facility.
Oh, she was? Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I panicked for no reason.
All right. So Ms. Pinto, you'll be representing her?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Ms. Jasmine Elgendi is accused of simple battery and simple assault, both family violence charges, from March 14th, 2025. Her case is 25 CR 1372B. Ms. Elgendi, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. Pinto. Understand this is a first arrest. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we'd be requesting a $15,000 signature bond through pretrial for each charge. So that's a $3,000 total signature bond with conditions no further contact with Ahmed Ahmed Algendi. The facts allege that this victim is in the middle of a divorce with the defendant and was at the residence just to pick up the kids per the custody agreement that they have. An argument ensued, and this defendant threw a bottle of Gatorade all over him, so threw the liquid all over him, then pushed him with both hands and spit on him. She went in then to get the kids, returned with the kids, but she had a baseball bat in her hand. She didn't ever use or threaten to use the bat, but she was screaming, still arguing with the victim. So the defendant was afraid she might use the baseball bat on him. She called 911 at this point. There was no contact information for the victim, so we were unable to get in touch with him. If we could sound for Ahmed Algendi.
Ahmed Algendi, are you on Zoom? This will be the time to unmute and start your video. All right, Ms. Pinto?
Thank you, Judge. Miss Algendi is 34 years old. She's lived in the Atlanta area for about 7 years. She has 2 children, ages 9 and 7. All of her immediate family and their children reside here in Atlanta as well. She has a bachelor's degree in accounting. Previously, she worked at City Hall on a contract relating to her accounting degree. This is the first arrest she's ever had. She's completely fine with no contact with the alleged victim. She denies these allegations, and I think there's a lot more to the story, Judge. But the incident location is where she lives. So we would ask that she be allowed to, of course, return to her own home where the alleged victim does not reside. She will certainly return to court. And with no previous arrests, the pretrial recommendation was UJR jail, and we would ask for that.
All right. On each count, it's going to be $1,500, and that's going to be a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 2. No further contact with Ahmed Algendi. If they need to exercise their parenting plan, whether it's temporary through the divorce case, it can only be done through a third party. So Ms. Algendi will need to make sure that she appoints a third party, like a family member or friend, to deliver the children to Ahmed Algendi, and then have that person deliver the children back to her. She herself cannot have any communication with him except with his attorney, if he has one, for the pending divorce case. She's to stay 200 yards away from him, not communicate with him either in person, through a phone, computer, or even on social media. The only time she can communicate with him would be through the third party with regards to the parenting plan, or through his attorney with regards to any issues regarding the divorce case. But Ms. Algendi, if you violate these conditions, we can have you rearrested and your bond revoked. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. And within 30 days of being released, you will begin and enroll into a family violence intervention program. This is a series of 26 classes, and you will need to begin those classes at your expense and present your certificate to your pretrial officer. You report to pretrial twice a month, and we'll see you in court down the road. You can maintain your residence at the, what was it, the Preakness address, something like that?
That sounds about correct, Judge. It was, yes, Preakness Drive.
Thank you.
Next is position number 13, Mr. Holt.
Daquan Holt's case is 25 CR 1365A, accused of battery from February 16th, 2025. Mr. Holt has 10 arrest cycles with an open probation from 16 SC 142518. Anything else to add, Mr. Howard?
519. It's burglary and robbery. Theft by receiving out of Douglas County sale of marijuana. On probation for that as well. Nothing further.
Okay. Mr. Ham?
Yes, Your Honor. State's recommendation for this charge is $1,000 surety bond, no further contact with Terry Brown, to stay away from 239 Ponce de Leon Avenue, which is the Boogaloo restaurant, to have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol. This case stems from an incident that happened around February 15, 2025. The victim in this case, Mr. Brown, and the defendant were co-workers. The incident was was captured on video, in which the defendant punched repeatedly the victim in his head, and then kicked him when he was on the floor, Your Honor. Based upon this particular incident and his open cases, his prior conviction, state's making that recommendation. We have not been able to reach Mr. Brown, so if we can at this time, sound for Mr. Terry Brown.
All right. Mr. Brown, Terry Brown, if you're on Zoom, this will be the time to unmute and start your video. All right, Ms. Bronstein, your client wants to say something.
Mr. Holt, I'm gonna speak on your behalf for what you talked to me about earlier about the case. So Mr. Holt is 28 years old. He is from Atlanta. His family's here, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. As for school, it's some college. He did used to work at that restaurant that Mr. Ham mentioned. However, he no longer works there anymore, has no contact with Mr. Brown. He is now working at a different restaurant as a chef, and he has previously always worked in this industry. As far as this case goes, just to give the court a little bit of background, we talked about it a bit. Previously, he alleges that the complaining witness had spit on him, and there was just a lot of background. However, we talked about how, no contact, can't overreact to things, need to deal with things in a legal way. So he just started his new job. He obviously did leave the old job. He is very behind on money. He wanted me to ask the court for a UJR. If the court's not inclined to do that, I would ask for the bond that Mr. Ham recommended.
$1,000 surety bond, no further contact with Terry Brown, stay away from the Boogaloo restaurant at 239 Ponce de Leon. I've always wanted to say that name of that restaurant. Okay, in Atlanta, Georgia, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. His next court date is going to be March 27th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, for Miss Richardson, her previous case, did you change that to a cash bond or you kept it as a surety?
It's been surrendered as a surety bond. So I can issue an order indicating that bond has been surrendered as a surety. So it's a $4,000 surety bond in the old case and a $3,000 cash bond in the new case.
Okay.
We've concluded with Mr. Holt. Next case, please.
Petition number 26, Mr. Stevens.
I'm back.
This is State versus Charles Edward Stevens, 25 CR 1370D. Mr. Stevens was arrested on March 14th, 2025 on driving under the influence of alcohol, possession of an open alcohol container, and an adult seatbelt violation. Mr. Stevens, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is going to be Ms. Pinto. I understand this is Mr. Stevens' third arrest cycle with a 2014 DUI conviction and a 2003 license suspension, which was dismissed. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we'd be asking for a $2,000 good bond on the DUI less safe and a $2,500 good bond on each of the other charges, totaling $2,500. The facts allege that this defendant was driving without a seatbelt on, so officers pulled him over, noticed a strong odor of alcoholic, bloodshot, watery eyes, and slurred speech. He did have an open Bud Light bottle in the center console in clear view. He did complete the fields. The HGN was a 6 out of 6. The walk and turn was 5 out of 8. And the one leg stand was 3 out of 4. He did agree to do the breath test. The BAC results were only 0.044. However, with DUI less safe, that doesn't matter. And I believe there was enough other signs to indicate that he was driving under the influence. So we're asking for that $2,500 total good bond.
All right, Ms. Pinto?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Stevens is 54 years old. He's lived in the Atlanta area for 30 years. He also has his wife of 30 years in Georgia and his brother. He did graduate high school, and he's been working for the last 4 years at General Wholesale Warehouse. As the court heard, his last arrest and conviction was in 2014. So he's had a long stretch of time, with no involvement at all with law enforcement and not very much in his lifetime either. The pretrial recommendation was for a signature bond level 1, which we would ask for, and I did advise that he would likely be required to do some kind of alcohol evaluation and recommended treatment, and he is happy to do so.
On the DUI is going to be a $500 surety. On the possession of an open alcohol container is a $1,000 surety, and the seatbelt violation is a $50 surety. His total bond is going to be $1,550. This is a surety bond. Next court date is March 27th. No driving unless he has a valid driving license or the privilege to drive through DDS, adequate insurance and proper registration. And he cannot consume any alcohol and or illegal drugs. And he definitely cannot have any alcoholic beverages in his vehicle. Thank you. I'm sorry, courtroom 2, you're muted.
Petition number 3, Mr. Daniels.
Okay. This is State versus Josh Daniels, accused of theft by taking from February 27th of this year, 25 CR 1357Y. Mr. Daniels, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. Bronstein. And I understand this is a 6th arrest cycle. Does he have that open case in the cab?
Appears to be. He went to felony earlier. I'm not sure what the bond was.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Mr. Ham?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond to stay away from 301 10th Street Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, to have no further contact with Satchit Seth, who was present earlier on Zoom. I no longer see him present. Your Honor, the facts of this case is that the defendant is accused of taking the victim's bike from a bike rack. He was later caught a few days later with that same same bicycle. And he was arrested after he fled from the police, Your Honor. So based upon history and the facts of this case, the state is asking for a $1,000 surety bond.
Ms. Bronstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. So I do want to start out by saying that I asked Mr. Daniels about this case. He told me that he bought the bike. He didn't steal it. I know we're not here to litigate the facts, just wanted to let the court know about that conversation we had. As far as Mr. Daniels goes, he is 42 years old. He's originally from Macon, Georgia, but has lived in Atlanta for the past 15 years. He does have family here, his sister and his 2 children, ages 5 and 8. He co-parents them with his ex-wife. As for school, he's a high school graduate and had some college. He does struggle with some mental health issues. However, he has been starting to see a doctor and take medication, and he does have a doctor's appointment, another one in 2 weeks. So we'd be asking if the court would consider maybe a UJR, and he said that he'd be fine with part of the bond conditions to be to take his medication and continue to go to his doctor. I do believe that continuing to do that will help his whole situation.
Right, bond is set at $1,000 surety bond, no contact with Sachin Seth, to stay away from all Georgia Tech property. He's got a $5,000 surety bond right now in his open felony case, 25 PI 001975. We'll see him on March 27th unless he bonds out in both cases. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is position number 20, Mr. Page.
This is State versus Corey Page, accused of simple battery and criminal trespass, case number 25 CR 1355G. And incident date appears to be March 14th of this year. Mr. Page, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. Pinto. It looks like he has 7 arrest cycles with 2 open felony cases with Superior Court alone, 23 SC 187754 and 24 SC 004706, I think. I hope
You got an open battery out of Gwinnett too.
Oh, that I noticed too. Yeah. Okay. Well, Ms. Tucker, what's your recommendation?
Yes, Judge, we're recommending a $1,000 good bond on the simple battery and $500 on that criminal trespass to total $1,500, to have no further contact with Brandon Ensley, and to stay away from the Walmart at 5200 Windward Parkway in Milton. The facts allege that this victim is an employee at Walmart, or excuse me, the victim was the employee at Walmart. The defendant was just there, was yelling, causing a disturbance, so he was asked to leave, in which case he turned hostile, poked the victim in the face with 2 fingers, and then shoved him backwards. Based on the facts alleged, as well as the history in his recent history of violence, you heard he has that open battery in Gwinnett. He had an aggravated assault here in 2020. We're asking for that $1,500 total good bond with conditions no further contact and to stay away. Fortunately, we were not able to get in contact with Brandon Ensley, but if we could sound for him just in case.
Okay. Brandon Ensley? No? Okay. Ms. Pinto?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Page is 23 years old. He's lived in Atlanta his entire life. Most of his family is also here. He went to the 9th grade. He works as a flagger for a utility company. He's been doing that for a couple of months. I saw in the pretrial report no convictions, no failures to appear. Pretrial recommended a signature bond level 2. I would ask for a signature bond or a max bond of $1,000. I think that's the most he would be able to pay. And he can stay away, no contact. The alleged victim is not somebody that he knows.
In 2020, he was given a pretrial release signature bond. He was in custody for 66 days and he was released. June 4th, 2024, he was given a pretrial bond, a UJR. He was in custody for 13 days and he was released. Now, less than a year later, he's back in jail and he's going to receive a surety bond. On the simple battery, it's going to be $1,000. On the criminal trespass is $500. No further contact with Brandon S. Ensley. Stay away from the Walmart at 5200 Windward Parkway in Milton, Georgia. and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. His next court date is March 27. Thank you.
Go ahead and elect him. Next, we can go to position number 15 through 16, Mr. McClendon.
McClendon, okay. Mr. McClendon, Todd McClendon has got 2 cases with us. Let's begin with position 15, case number 25 CR 1352H. This is a traffic incident from November 25th, 2020. And the charges are driving while license suspended or revoked, giving false information to an officer, hit and run, and following too closely. Then position number 16 is case number 25 CR 1353H. And this is a traffic incident from October 15th, 2024. Charges are failure to obey traffic signs or control devices, hit and run, and driving while license suspended or revoked. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 misdemeanor traffic charges. Mr. McClendon, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Bronstein.
Oh, you waiting on me? My bad. 22 total.
Okay.
Open case out of Clayton County. Suspended license, hit and run, homicide by vehicle, first degree. 2017, driving without a valid license, suspended registration, conviction. And FTAs from 2012, 2 from 2011, and a 2010 suspended license conviction.
Okay. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge. On position 15, although the dates were in 2020, these are traffic offenses. Therefore, we can proceed on citation. So that should not be an issue here. We are going to ask in this case for a $2,500 cash bond on the driving with suspended license, $500 on the giving false info, $500 good bond on the giving false info. On the hit and run, a $1,500 good bond, and on the failure to or the following too closely, it'll be a $500 good bond. So that's going to be a $5,000 total bond split to $2,500 cash, a $2,500 good bond. The facts allege that this defendant struck vehicle 2 from behind, causing her to strike vehicle 1. The victim knew the defendant because they worked at the same place, but just knew him as Todd. He gave her his phone number, but then he drove away. So the officer was able to call him. He gave the false name of Todd Wright with the false date of birth of July 9th, 1975. He did not give any good information about the tag or insurance. They finally were able to get the temporary tag information from him, and it came back for Alicia McClendon. So the officer put 2 and 2 together, ran Todd McClendon's name, and saw he was driving on a suspended license with an active warrant out for him. Both parties in the collision positively identified him based on the photo that came back for Todd McClendon. So not only do the facts give rise to a huge flight risk as he hit and run, you heard his history. He has 8 total prior DSLs, driving on suspended license. He has 9 total, and he was just arrested this year for vehicular homicide in the first and driving on a suspended license. So he should not be driving at all, nonetheless fleeing when he causes accidents. You know, I've been driving for 10 years. I haven't been in an accident in 10 years, and I'm allowed to drive. So for those reasons, in this case, we're asking for that $5,000 total split bond. Would you like me to go right into position 16?
You may.
All right. In this case, I'm asking for a $500 good bond on the failure to obey traffic controls, a $1,500 good bond on the hit and run, and again, a $2,500 cash bond on the driving on suspended license. That's a total $4,500 split In this case, the light at the intersection was out, so everyone had to treat it as a four-way stop. He did not. He proceeded on the victim's turn and would struck the victim, and then he fled the scene. The victim chased him down, was able to get his name and insurance before he left again, without providing information for his driver's license. Based on the name, the officer was able to show the victim a photo and he confirmed that it was him. So again, this is another hit and run case, another driving on suspended license. So if you're including those in with this history, he's got 11 driving on suspended license. So for that reason, I'm asking for the split bond in this case as well.
Ms. Bronstein, Mr. McClendon, I'll give you an opportunity to speak. Just your attorney has to speak first.
So first I want to discuss position 15. The state is not completely incorrect that they can go forward on citations for driving charges.
That's going to be a signature bond through the jail. Let's talk
Okay.
about the 2024 incident.
All right, thank you. I'll put my case law away, thank you. So Mr. McClendon, he advised me that he is 49 years old, has lived in Atlanta his entire life. His family has 6 grown children that all live nearby. He does have an associate's degree, and he works at a computer warehouse where he has worked for the past 6 years for the same company. But he does not make that much money, and would not be able to afford much of a bond. He relayed to me that there was a car accident, that the traffic light was out, and that it had turned into a four-way stop. The warrant supported that. He said that he and the complaining witness both took photos, exchanged insurance information, then insurance denied the claim. Then the complaining witness filed the hit and run. That is the information he gave to me, and looking at the warrant, it was taken out over a week after the initial date. So wanted to relay that to the court and ask the court to take that into consideration when determining bond.
Okay. Mr. Howard, did you say that Clayton County case is vehicular homicide and driving without a valid license?
Hold on. McClendon. That's what I have. Suspended license, hit and run, and the vehicular homicide.
Okay. All right. On the position number 15, I'm sorry, Mr. McClendon, you have a right to remain silent. You have a very serious case in Clayton County. And then now you have these 2 traffic related matters. If you choose to say anything, your statements can and will be used against you in the prosecution of all these cases. So if you want to waive your right to remain silent, that's entirely up to you, but your attorney is not going to be happy with you.
It's not a good idea to talk at this time.
Okay, but it was something that I didn't let her know as far as the accident.
Which one?
The one for 2014.
2014? We don't have a 2014 case.
I'm sorry, 2024.
Okay, what about it?
That I was the driver that I was driving under kind of work permit. I had certain hours to drive.
You had what?
It was on what you call it, DDS permission to drive on the certain hours to go to work.
You have a limited driving permit?
Yes, I did.
So you have an existing limited driving permit for October 15, 2024?
Yes.
Okay, so make sure you get a copy of it and show that to your attorney.
So that's what yes, it was for suspended, they came up suspended license, but like I said, exchange.
Mr. McClendon, we'd be able to get that. Your attorney who handles the case would be able to get that information from DDS. And we're not litigating the case today. It's just a bond hearing.
Now, Ms. Tucker had one other thing. He has a warrant for theft by taking with a $500 surety bond from August 4th, 2019. Which case is that supposed to be with?
So I NOD'd that case. And I
Okay.
sent the notification to the jail earlier.
Okay, so as long, Deputy, that particular charge, if it's showing up on your side, it has been NOD'd. All right, so going back to the bond, position 15, driving while license suspended or revoked, that's 5,000. Giving false information is 2,000. Hit and run is 2,000, and following too closely is 1,000. That's a $10,000 signature bond through the jail. No driving at all. I don't care if you have a limited driving permit, if you have a provisional learner's permit and a licensed driver is seated next to you, you are not allowed to occupy the driver's seat of any vehicle unless you have a valid Class C driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. So a limited permit or learner's permit is not going to cut it. It's got to be a valid Class C driver's license. And presently you don't have one, so you're not allowed to drive. On position 16, failure to obey signs or control devices, that's going to be a $2,000 surety bond. The hit and run is going to be a $1,000 cash bond only. And driving while license suspended or revoked, that's going to be a $1,000 cash bond only. For that particular case, this is going to be a $4,000 split bond. His next court date for both cases is going to be on March 27th. Again, no driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. And the only way he can drive is if he has a current, valid Class C driver's license. Thank you. Yes, Mr. McClendon, what is it?
The total bond amount, and you said
It's $10,000 signature bond for the 2020 incident. And if you get arrested again, or if you violate the conditions of the bond, that will be converted to a $10,000 cash bond. On the position 16 is a $4,000 split bond. $2,000 will be through a bonding company, and the other portion is a $2,000 cash bond only.
could you do 4,000 to the
No, sir, because you have too many convictions for driving while license suspended. I hope you get the memo now.
but I had a permit to drive.
I don't have any evidence of that.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. Next court date is March 27th.
Hold on, just give me a second. Your Honor, next is position number 17.
All right, Louis Irvin McCray.
Going, Your Honor.
All right, sir. Mr. McCray, your case is 25 CR 1354J, accused of battery from March 14th of this year. You've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Ms. Bronstein. I understand this is Mr. McCray's 20th arrest cycle. Anything else to add, Mr. Howard?
You got a bunch of FTAs, but he got a 2014 battery, simple battery conviction.
Okay.
That's all.
Last FTA was 2017?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, I'd be asking for a $2,500 good bond with conditions no further contact with Jashana Crew and to stay away from 3200 Cushman Circle, ATL. And although I know we pretty much make it a general condition of all bond, in this case especially, I want you to go over no drugs, no alcohol on probation, or excuse me, while he's out on bond. Defendant and this victim are brother and sister. The defendant was visiting his sister's house. Both of them were drinking when an argument turned physical. This defendant threw the victim up against the wall in the bedroom. He punched her repeatedly in the face and head. Then he dragged her by her hair through the hallway into the bathroom, where he continued to just punch her in the face with a closed fist as she tried to get away. When officers arrived, she was actively bleeding from her head. She had 2 swollen black eyes and a busted lip. We were unable to get in contact with Miss Crew before the calendar, but if we could still sound her, between the severe violence in the history paired with that 2014 battery conviction and at least 4 FTAs on the history, we're asking for a $2,500 good bond with those conditions of no further contact, stay away, and absolutely no drugs or alcohol loaded on board.
All right. Yes, Ms. Bronstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McCray is 33 years old. He is originally from Fort Lauderdale, but moved to Atlanta over 20 years ago. To add some context, he was a foster child, moved around a lot, but has lived in Atlanta for his entire adult life. For his family now, he is a single father of 2 boys, aged 11 and 8. And he does work for UPS, assistant floor lead, and has worked there for 2 years. He does have some diagnosed mental health issues that he used to take medication for, but has not. And in recent history, and says that he has not had an episode until recently. He's already spoken to one of the deputies at the jail who recommended that he go to Grady. So as soon as he gets out of jail, that is his first stop so that he can go see doctor and get back on medication. As for this, the court heard me say that he was a foster child, finally met up with not just the sister, but whole biological family. And the drinking led to some questions about why he was the one to be abandoned. And it was a lot more complicated and messy than the state put out. We're not here to litigate the case. We just want the court to take all of that into consideration. He is asking for a UJR, and if the court's not inclined to do that, a bond not to exceed 1,000.
Bond is set at 2,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Joshonna Cruz. Stay away from 3,200 Cushman Circle in Southwest Atlanta. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And if he makes bond, he's required to be compliant with all MH treatment and medication. I noticed he's got an East Point hold. So if that hold is in place, then if he posts bond, then East Point will have to come and pick him up. Thank you.
Next is position number 14.
I want to say something.
What do you want to say?
All right, Mr. McCray, if you choose to say anything, just remember that your statements can and will be used against you.
I was just wanting
You have a right to exercise your right to remain silent.
I'd suggest that you not speak at this time. The judge has already made her ruling and isn't going to change her mind. And anything you say could actually make things worse for you.
Okay, but because I don't know too much I was just wanting some assistance with my mental health because I'm noticing that there will be a lot more. I'm going to run into my brothers in them and I haven't seen them yet. And I want to be wholeheartedly mentally be prepared.
Okay. I'm going to recommend that then we have a social worker visit and to evaluate your situation and see whether there are any MH requirements that we need to address.
Okay, can I be appointed to?
She did.
What was that?
She said she's going to require such a worker to come visit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Next is position number 14, Mr. Jackson. That row.
This is State versus Antonio Jackson, accused of simple battery family violence from November 5th of last year, case 25 CR 1366J. Mr. Jackson, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. Bronstein. Mr. Jackson currently has 17 arrest cycles with an open case in state court, 19 CR 003549. I think it's A, okay? And then he's got an open felony case, 24 PI 003570. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
No.
Ms.
The FTA from 2017, that's it.
Okay. Mr. Ham?
Yes, Your Honor. State's recommendation is a $1,500 surety bond to have no further violent contact with Shekinah Muhammad, to have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol on his system. Your Honor, we were able to reach out to Ms. Muhammad. I don't think she's going to be present on the Zoom today. The incident of this case or pretty much clearing the warrant, he allegedly slaps the victim with an open fist, who was at that time pregnant with his child.
All right, Ms. Bronstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Jackson is 54 years old. He is from Atlanta, has lived here his whole life. He has children. He has full custody of 2 children. He is in school right now to get his GED. He's not working, but he typically does property maintenance, and he's in a program right now, Atlanta Housing. This is extremely strange because when we were talking, he said that he has no idea who this woman is, does not live with anyone other than his children, and that the Atlanta Housing Program would never allow for him to live with anyone other than his children. That no woman lives with him. He does not have an unborn child. No woman is with a child. He has his 2 children living with him. And he has no idea what this is, where it's coming from, and why this person is alleging that she was impregnated by him. So he cannot afford a bond. Like I said, he is in a program. Children are living with him in that program. He can absolutely come to court, will absolutely come to court. We're asking for a signature bond in this case.
Right. Just give me a moment. Sorry.
I could show you the last time I went to the ranch.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull up the warrant over here, try to remember the details of this case.
Yeah, and then the address listed is his address at the Atlanta Housing Program, but he says that woman does not live there. He lives there with his children.
And how old are these children who live with him?
They're 11 and 13, right? Yeah.
And so he's the only adult in that household?
Yes. Right now the neighbor is watching them.
Okay. Let's see now.
He said she won't shoot it.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So it looks as if we were able to speak to the victim in this case, and she has a similar story that she may not know who this person is, so he may not be the correct person. So at that point, the state is not going to oppose a signature bond until we figure it out.
All right. Thank you for, because I was trying to figure out that warrant as well. On the simple battery family violence, it's going to be a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. No further contact with Sankina Mohammed. Next court date will be sent to his current address, unless, of course, the state, upon further investigation, decides to dismiss the charge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, position number 4, Mr. Dove.
This is David Wayne Dove, accused of criminal trespass from March 13th of this year, case number 25CR1358B. Mr. Dove, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Bronstein. Mr. Dove has 25 arrest cycles with open cases, 24 PI 004905, 24 PI 000891, and a 2024 FTA. Mr. Ham, anything else to add?
No, Your Honor. I see robbery conviction out of 2015, simple battery out of 2015, theft by receiving out of 2017. So the state's recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond, to stay away from all Home Depots, to have no drugs, weapon, or alcohol. What's concerning to the state is that while being arrested, the defendant indicated that he wants to hurry up and get out so he can go back to that same location. So based upon that, state is asking for the $2,000 surety bond.
Ms. Bronstein?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm going to start with the state's last statement before I get into some information about Mr. Dove. I asked him why to keep going back to the same location. And essentially he is unemployed but tends to work as a day laborer. And I do know that in front of the Home Depot is typically where people hire day laborers. So that is why he kept going back to the location. So we did explain that he cannot do that because by doing that, it's a violation of the law and that gets him arrested. So when if he's looking for work, he can't look there. So he did tell me that he gets it now. He won't go back. He is 34 years old. He is from Atlanta, has lived here his whole life. He went through the 11th grade, and like I said, he is unemployed in between jobs and knows not to go to the Home Depot to be hired for construction. So we are asking for the court consider a UJR. He really does not have money to pay for a good bond.
I'm sorry, how old is he?
He's at 34,
And what's his highest level of education?
11th grade.
All right, so he's smart enough to get the message. I'm reading this warrant. Apparently, he's been told repeatedly. So you're telling me he gets it now?
So the reason I asked why is because I wanted to get to the root of the issue of why he's going
telling
back.
me that he's acknowledging that he understands now that he's not allowed to return to the Home Depot?
That is what we discussed earlier.
Okay. Bond is set at 2,000. It is a surety bond. He's to stay away from all Home Depot stores, not just the one at 1032 Research Center, all of them. He cannot be in the building. He can't be on the sidewalk, on the pavement, on the parking lots, at the garden center, and what other centers a Home Depot has. He cannot be within 200 yards of any Home Depot store. So if he sees the big bright orange Home Depot sign, make sure you stay at least 2 football field lengths away from every single one. Next court date is March 27th.
Next, we have position number 27, Mr. Thomas.
Yeah, here we are. Is it Quinlan Thomas? All right, Mr. Thomas, you've been charged with theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass from March 1st, 2025. And your state court case is 25 CR 1371G. Mr. Thomas, please remember that you have a right to remain silent, and presently your attorney is Ms. Pinto. Your case will be transferred to the Superior Court as a felony matter. I understand that this is your 53rd arrest cycle. And is it because of recidivist issues, Mr. Ham? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, it appears that you have more than 3 convictions for theft by shoplifting on your record, so this is a felony matter, and you will have your first appearance before felony court on Monday at 11 a.m. Thank you.
Next, we have position number 28, Mr. Watson.
This is State versus Duran Watson, accused of 2 counts of battery from January 16th of this year. Mr. Watson, your case number is 25 CR 1350H. Please remember that you have a right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Pinto. Mr. Watson apparently has 5 arrest cycles with a 2023 FTA, a 2023 suspended license, and a 2017 reckless driving. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge. I'm not sure.
You've just like completely disappeared.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Maybe it'll come back. Yes, I'm gonna ask for a $1,000 good bond on each charge for a $2,000 good bond total with conditions no further contact with Zakia Griffin and to stay away from 1810 Cheshire Bridge Road in Atlanta. This defendant and the victim used to date. They were just spending some time together now as friends, now being January 16th of this year. The defendant placed his hand around her hip and she politely moved it away, but that made the defendant mad. He shoved her, pushed her face back, and grabbed a glass jar and struck her behind her right ear, cutting her. Then they got in the car, they drove to Johnny's Pizza, and this defendant aggressively grabbed her from the car, causing her to fall on the ground. So they began pushing and punching each other until the defendant ultimately fled the scene. She had injuries to her hand and behind her ear from that glass jar. She did confirm to the officer she never lived together and they didn't have any children. But considering the recent FTA and the violence alleged in the facts, we are still asking for that $1,000 good bond on each. We attempted to contact this victim. We were unable to get in contact with her, but if we could sound for Zakia Griffin.
Ms. Griffin, if you're on Zoom, this would be the time to unmute and start your video. All right, Ms. Bronstein, I'm sorry, Ms. Pinto.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Watson is 26 years old. He's lived in the Atlanta area his entire life. His entire family is here. He does have an associate's degree in science. He previously worked as a roadside technician for 2 years. He's looking for work right now. He actually had a job interview the day of his arrest. I understand there was a previous FTA mentioned. That was his aunt and uncle's address. Unfortunately, his aunt passed and he didn't get his mail, but I've explained to him how important it is to keep his address up to date with the clerk so that that never happens again. The only convictions he has are traffic convictions. Pretrial recommended a signature bond level 1. And we would ask for that. He does deny these allegations. He's completely fine with having no contact with the alleged victim. And from what he explained to me, I think there's some evidence that he's the actual victim in the situation. So he's fine staying away from her. And we would just ask for this signature bond.
Mm-hmm. On each count, it's going to be $750 for a total bond of $1,500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is March 27th. No further contact with Zakia Griffin and stay away from the Johnny's Pizza at 1810 Cheshire Bridge Road in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. And his next court date is the 27th of March. Mr. Watson, you don't qualify for a signature bond because you've got a failure to appear in the last 4 years. That's the law. Thank you.
How much is the total bond?
It's $1,500. You go through a bonding company and they charge between 10 to 15%.
All right.
Thank you.
Also,
Yes,
someone is lying. Will they be held accountable for lying?
I'm sure you.
Mr. Watson.
You.
Yeah, this is not the time to address that. This is just about bond, okay?
Next, we have position number 25, Mr. Scrine. Sir, have a seat.
They got screwed over.
You was right in the bench long enough.
This is State versus Giovanni Scrine, accused of criminal trespass and battery from March 14th, 2025. Case number 25 CR 13698. Mr. Scrine, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Pinter. And Mr. Howard?
31.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
It's a lot. You want me to go through all of it?
Sorry.
Just tell me his last. I've got a 2024 FTA.
Oh, yes.
All right, that's good. Miss Pinto, Miss Tucker, do you want Mr. Howard to recite his GCIC? It's 31 arrest cycles, a lot of them just in the last 5 years.
I'm fine.
No, thank you, Judge.
Then please give me the bond recommendation, Miss Tucker.
Yes, Judge. I'd be recommending a $1,000 good bond on the trespass and a $2,000 good bond on the battery for a total of $3,000 with conditions no further contact with the victim Ashutosh Rajput, as well as to stay away from the Days Inn Hotel at 2451 Old National Parkway in College Park. These facts allege that the defendant and the victim were in the lobby of this hotel. This defendant randomly spit on and struck this victim, who was a complete stranger. Then he fled the scene. The victim was bleeding profusely from an injury on the side of his face, and this defendant had already received several criminal trespass warnings from this exact location, one on July 11th of 2024 and one on January 31st of 2024. So he knew he wasn't supposed to be here. Briefly, the history that I want to acknowledge, he just pled guilty to a criminal trespass 2/26/25 in DeKalb. So like 2 weeks ago, pled guilty to a criminal trespass. If you could stop him from interrupting me, Judge.
Girl, fuck you, really.
He also has an obstruction out of 2023 conviction. He had an ag assault arrest out of 2023, an ag assault amended to simple assault conviction in 2022. So between all the recent history of violence, recent history of the FTA, you did hear that 2024 FTA, and then as well as the violence in the history against a complete stranger, we are asking for that $3,000 good bond total with conditions no further contact and to stay away.
All right. Miss Pinto?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Scrine is 28 years old. He's lived in the Atlanta area his entire life. His family is all in Georgia. He went through the 11th grade in high school. He is experiencing some residential issues and doesn't have any way to pay bond, Judge. So we would just ask that it be as low as possible. I understand, given his history, the court is disinclined to give him a signature bond. I would ask for, if not, then $1,000 maximum.
All right, quorum 2, please unmute. Mr. Scrine, I've already told you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. Now, it seemed that you had some things to say. I'll allow you to add anything to the case. Please remember that anything you choose to say, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. And I'm already going to warn you from this point onwards, no profanity. So, would you like to exercise your right to remain silent, or would you like to say something?
I did shit wrong.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I did shit wrong. I ain't did nothing wrong. I ain't did a motherfucking thing. These folks got me locked up for no reason, and I'm just tired of being in jail.
Okay. I'm looking at your history. You just took a plea before Judge Morrow on 24 CR 0000813A. And I'm reviewing the warrants. It is very concerning. On the criminal trespass is going to be 500, and on the battery is going to be 2,000. Your total bond is going to be 2,500. It is a surety bond. Your next court date is going to be March 27th.
My thing is, if y'all know for a fact I ain't got no money to be paying me bugs, why y'all keep giving me bugs like I got money?
The bond is there based on the legal factors, and in this particular case, the legal factor is that you have a high risk to reoffend, and that you have. Let me finish talking.
Right, who are you yelling at, first of all?
I'm just explaining to you why you don't get a signature bond, because you also have a failure to appear in the last 4 years, and by law, you can't qualify for a signature bond.
Okay, so my thing is, if I'm an Atlanta resident and I've been in Atlanta my whole entire life, and what the fuck am I going, first and foremost?
Right, with profanity now, his bond is now a 2,500.
I don't care. I really don't care.
We are done, Deputy.
Bitch, I will break that motherfucking screen, bitch.
Mr. Scrine, I would encourage you to stop talking.
I got me fucked up, bitch. I don't give no fuck about none of that. Tell me, bitch.
Well, he's rather overexcited. Okay.
That's a $2,500 cash only now, Judge?
Yes, 2,000 cash on the battery, 500 criminal trespass. And Ms. Tucker, please let your office know. I'm not going to consider a time served plea.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Whenever courtroom 2 is ready, we can address that. While we are waiting for courtroom 2 to begin, I've got a couple of people on Zoom who are not identified. TS, Zoom user, and Samsung, you'll need to start your video and identify yourselves. Again, Samsung SMF9, individual T as in Tom and S as in Sam, and Zoom user. You have to start your video and identify yourselves. All right, Ms. Lewis, please place TS, Zoom user, and Samsung in the waiting room. All right, your name? What's your name?
My name is Rashida Smith.
And who are you here for?
Victoria Spratling.
All right.
That was NOD, Judge.
All right, that case was dismissed. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Zoom user has not responded. Miss, okay, thank you. All right, when courtroom 2 is ready, okay. Who do we have, please?
Your Honor, this is the Spanish interpreter case.
All right. And who represents him? Miss Pinto or Miss Bronstein?
Neither of us were told about this until just before court started.
Okay.
And we were not, I don't know if there's even a Spanish interpreter today. That was one of my announcements at the beginning. We'd be fine waiting until Monday with the note that we need a Spanish interpreter.
And this is for position 9, Renee Flores?
Yes, that was one of my announcements at the beginning.
All right.
I believe he's position 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, 3 cases.
8 and 9. Your Honor, we spoke with Ms. Bronstein approximately around
No, he
1:25.
he did not speak with me.
Can I finish? Can I finish? We spoke to Ms. Bronstein around 1:25. That's when she completed her interviews. That's when we were able to tell her that we needed she was gonna need a Spanish interpreter for this case.
Okay, no problem. Not a problem at all. Mr. Renee Flores, my name is Judge Lal. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You need a Spanish interpreter, someone to make you understand in Spanish? Yes?
Yes, please.
Okay. I cannot get anyone today. It is Saturday. We will see you on Monday at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
You have 3 cases.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
We will get a Spanish interpreter then.
It was a binder, but she was on it.
March 17th at 2 p.m. And this is reset for a Spanish interpreter, position 7, 8, and 9. This is not a Riverside issue.
Should I send any emails to anyone, or do y'all have the notes to make sure a Spanish
Please,
interpreter is
please
there?
just send an email to Mr. Jordan and CC me on it, and we'll make sure so it won't be no slip through the cracks.
I will do that. Yeah, it was just hearing it about half hour before court started. I still
I
have
understand.
people to call.
It's okay. We understand. It's no biggie. We'll try our best.
Thank you. All right, courtroom 2, do we have any other cases?
We have the waiver cases.
All right. Position 1, Jonathan Banks. That's a waiver case, and that case is going to be transferred to the DA's office. So Jonathan Banks will be addressed at felony first appearance on Monday at 7 a.m. Is that correct?
Turn his office first, read back on.
Okay, March 17th at 11 a.m. Okay. And then the next waiver case, folks, I know I wrote it down, but okay, here we go.
Floyd's.
10, D'Angelo Floyd.
Wait, Your Honor, I'm sorry, we're trying to figure things out in courtroom two. What did you say about position number one?
He's going to be reset to felony first appearance on Monday at 11 a.m. The case has been transferred to the Superior Court. Okay?
Fine.
All right. Position 10, D'Angelo Floyd, accused of battery and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from April 1st, 2024, case 25 CR 1363 C. Mr. Floyd has got 11 arrest cycles, including an open DUI case, 22 CR 003387G. Ms. Bronstein, I'm
That's
sorry.
battery. That's for battery. He has a bench warrant, I think, out of Judge Dixon too for battery DV and the ag assault conviction 2017
What's
and
that?
robbery from 2019.
What's that case number?
22 CR 003387G.
387G. Okay, thank you. Mr. Ham, what's your bond recommendation for these two new charges?
Yes, Your Honor. The bond recommendation for the battery is a $1,500 surety bond. For the willful obstruction is a $500 surety bond. To have no further contact with Securia Langley, who was present on the Zoom earlier, and to have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol, Your Honor.
All right. And Ms. Bronstein?
And I'm so sorry. What was your bond recommendation?
$2,000 surety bond.
Okay.
100 and 500, no contact with Securia Langley. And we're going to reset him to March 27th, along with his two other state court cases.
Okay, just to give the court a little information, he is 33 years old, from Atlanta, has lived here his whole life. His children are here. He just started a job last Sunday. He does have a very serious heart condition and recently had a few heart attacks. He said that the complaining witness in this case is his fiance, but that they don't live together. So I don't know what conversation the state had with her about her what she wants as far as contact goes. But we did want the court to take that into consideration when determining bond.
Okay. He was born in 91. That makes him 34 years old. And does he have some kind of congenital heart condition?
He said, my notes say that he has a bad heart and has had 2 heart attacks recently. Or not, yeah, he's had 2 heart attacks somewhat recently.
All right.
And Your Honor, we did attempt to reach out to the victim. We were not able to contact her.
All right. On the battery charge, it's going to be $1,000. On the willful obstruction, it's $500. It's a $1,500 surety bond. Reset date is March 27th. And we will address also his other case, 22 CR 003387G, and the bench warrant case that he has with Judge Dixon, 22 CR 00387G.
And so that was 2,000 total?
No, 1,500 total.
Oh, 1,500 total. I'm sorry.
What were the conditions, Judge?
Oh, no contact with Securia Langley, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons.
Thank you.
All right. The next waiver case I have is Oscar Floyd. And his case number is 25 CR 1364C, position number 11, accused of theft by receiving stolen property from July 28, 2023. Mr. Floyd has got 18 arrest cycles with an open probation from April 2024.
He got a couple of FTAs, 2021 and 2019.
Okay.
He's wanted out of Lowndes County and got a fugitive warrant out of Bay County Sheriff's Office, Florida.
All right. Mr. Ham, what's your recommendation?
$1,000, Your Honor.
For position 11, Oscar Floyd.
Yes, Your Honor. The state is asking for $1,000 surety bond for the theft by receiving stolen property. We were able to get in contact with the victim in this case. He just wants restitution for the phone.
Okay.
If he's going to be present, Your Honor.
And Ms. Bronstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Floyd is 41 years old. He told me he is from Atlanta. His whole family lives here. I had some questions. I asked if he had any mental health diagnoses. He said that he did, but he could not remember what and did not take medication. So, I have a feeling that that plays into something because obviously with the holds and everything, he's not working. He doesn't have any money. We would ask the court to take that into consideration.
I have a Florida address for this individual, so we might want to look into his residency issue.
He said he doesn't have an actual stable address.
I see. Okay. It's going to be $1,000 surety bond, reset to March 27. And we'll see if he qualifies for any release at that time to the holds that he presently has, including the fugitive hold.
And what are the bond conditions?
I don't have the name of the victim, Mr. Ham. I just have restitution requirements.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. The name of the victim is Lucas, spelled Letravis, Burke, Burke.
Did you get that, Mr. Lewis?
I did, thank you.
All right.
That's the only thing on that, only conditions is no
Yeah.
further contact?
No
Okay.
contact with the victim, and we'll see him. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. Courtroom 2, did y'all have a question?
No, we're on position 18, correct?
That was position
So I did position 11, correct, but we're on 18. We did Floyd. And
Yeah, we just did position number 11, we just did.
So now we're moving on to position 18. That would be correct. Malcolm Murphy, and that's a waiver as well. Mr. Murphy is case 25 CR 1367F, accused of battery from March 13, 2025. His appearance has been waived, and I see that he's got 13 arrest cycles. Anything else to add, Mr. The
Sure.
FTA is from 19.
Yeah, the FTA 2019 trespass conviction 2019. 2019 trespass NOLO 2019 disorderly conduct conviction.
All right. Mr. Ham, what's your recommendation?
Yeah, sure. The state's recommendation is a $1,500 surety bond to have no further contact with Shamir, CHAWLASAMEER, to stay away from all modern locations, to have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol on his persons. We were able to speak to the victim in this case. He indicates that he is afraid of this particular victim. He does not want to have contact with him. And he does not want him to return to the area in which the incident occurred.
Ms. Bronstein or Ms. Pinto, whoever filed the waiver.
I'm sorry, Judge, I didn't hear what position this is.
Position 18, Malcolm Murphy.
Yes.
The state is asking for a $1,500 surety bond and stay away from the victim and all modern locations.
And Mr. Murphy is 43 years old. He's lived in Atlanta for about a year. He also has family here at one of the addresses that is in Odyssey. So that address has been provided. It's his brother's address, who is also his payee. Mr. Murphy does not work. He receives SSDI for some mental health diagnoses. So he's not able to post any kind of monetary bond. Pretrial did recommend a signature bond level 2. From the report, I read that he has no felony convictions. So I would ask for a signature bond.
Okay. I'm not sure, but the booking screen shows he's got a DeKalb County hold. So if that hold has not been resolved, unfortunately, he won't be able to bond out or be released on a bond. Bond is going to be set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Mr. Shamir, and stay away from all modern locations until further order of the court, which includes buses and trains.
Can you give me the correct spelling of the victim first name because it's spelled a C or a S.
Let me see. All right. The last name is Shameer.
Mm-hmm.
And the first name was,
I saw two spellings. On the accusation, it had a S, but on the warrant, it had a C.
the warrant says SHWLA. And I think SHWLA is the last name and Sameer is the first name. Sameer is the first name. So it's Sameer Shala.
Which is SH.
Yes.
SHAWLA.
And also, stay away off from water property. I saw there was
All water stations and property. Yeah.
Okay. There was a permit. I think he had a permanent martyr suspension in all the places. That's what they had
Does
on the
have
warrant.
a permanent martyr suspension?
That's what they had on the paperwork, on the martyr citation form.
So he can't return to any martyr property.
So,
All right. If you want to confirm that he's got a DeKalb County hold, it appears to be on his jailing screen, but I'm not sure. Okay, moving on to the next waiver. And do we have any more, Ms. Pint? I have Robert Wilson, position 29. What are we doing there?
He's gonna be reset. The attorneys wasn't able to get in touch with Union City, and Union City is.
All right. So Robert Wilson, position 29 is reset to March 17th at 2 p.m. This is not a Riverside issue.
And Judge, Mr. Wilson has other felony holds, so it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure if I've addressed all the 29 or 30 cases on our calendar, but I'll just go down the calendar and we'll see what's going on. Position 1 is transferred to the district attorney's office, Superior Court. So reset date is March 17th at 11 a.m. for first appearance felony. Position 2, Tesra Busey is a 1750 surety bond. Reset date's March 27. Position 3, Josh Daniels, $1,000 surety. Reset is March 27. Position 4, Dove is a $2,000 surety. Reset March 27. Position 5, Kenneth Dwight is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2. Further notice. Position 6, El Gendi is going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, level 2 with the FBIT requirement. 7, Renee Flores, 7, 8, and 9 are reset to March 17th at 2 p.m. for a Spanish interpreter. Position 10, D'Angelo Floyd is a $1,500 surety, reset date March 27th. 11, Oscar Floyd is a $1,000 surety, reset date March 27th. 12, Gilbert's a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2 with the FBIT requirement. Position 13, Holt is going to be a $1,000 surety bond, reset date March 27th. 14, Antonio Jackson, that's a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. I'm sorry, Deputy, did you have a question? All right. I don't think they were talking to us. Okay. Position 15, McClendon. For position 15, it's a $10,000 signature bond through the jail. For position 16, it's a $4,000 split bond, $2,000 of which is a cash bond only.
No, I've moved.
Quorum 2, could we mute, please? Quorum 2, please mute. Thank you. All right. So, Mr. McClendon, both cases are reset to March 27, unless he bonds out. Position 17, Louis McCrae is going to be a 2,500 surety bond, reset March 27th. Malcolm Murphy, 18, is a $1,500 surety bond, reset March 27th. Ms. Bronstein, did you want a social worker visit for that one? Or Ms. Pinto for Malcolm Murphy?
I have a note to request one.
Okay, we'll do social worker visit for Mr. Malcolm Murphy.
All right, I'll add that to my email. I was just emailing Dwayne about that.
All right, thank you.
Someone else.
Position 19, arrange the $2,000 signature bonds of pretrial level 1. And that's going to be a telephonic report with an MHET requirement. Corey Page is going to be a $1,500 surety bond. Reset date March 27th. Position 21, Unique Patterson, is a $5,000 cash bond. And reset date March 27th. Position 22, Leon Phillips, is reset to Monday, March 17th. Position 23, DeAnthony Reeves is I think it was $1,000 surety bond, reset date March 27th.
That's cool.
Position 24, Marsha Richardson, it's a it's a $3,000 cash bond, reset date March 27th. And position 25, Scrine, is a $2,500 cash bond, reset date March 27th. Position 26, Stevens, is a $1,550 surety bond, reset date March 27th. Position 27, Quentin Thomas, is transferred to the Superior Court. First appearance on March 17th at 11 a.m. Position 28, Duran Watson's $1,500 surety bond, reset March 27th. Position 29, Robert Wilson's reset to March 17th at 2 p.m. Is this for his attorney? Is that correct?
He's in Union City, and they never logged on. I was never able to interview him. I'm not sure what's happening, but he is being held on no bond status on other much more serious charges.
Okay, so we'll see him at 2 p.m. on Monday, March 17th. Position 13, Deshaun Woods, is a $2,000 signature bond, level 2.
Is that per judge, Mr. Howard?
Who?
There was two per judge.
For Woods, yeah.
Okay, and what was the other one?
Gilbert's.
Was that also per judge? Okay.
That's the dude that yeah, I think his history is messed up.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're right. It's per judge. Okay. Any other questions on any of these cases? Ms. Bronstein, Ms. Pinto, Ms. Tucker, Ms. Han?
No, Judge.
All
No,
right.
Your Honor.
Y'all have
Courtroom 2 got any questions?
Who?
Courtroom 2.
Good heavens, I hope
I
not.
guess not.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think you guys had your fair share of drama today. All right, everyone. Y'all have a great Saturday. Be careful of the weather this evening. I don't know what's going on, but
Yes, I'm gonna get those
Y'all
over to
be
you as quick
safe.
as I can.
all right, Miss Lewis, I look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
See you, Judge Law. I gotta come see you when I come in the office.
Please